Today's podcast is sponsored by Journeys with Josephine. Join Josephine at Lurie for her Rest and Renewal Wellness Retreat, March 3rd through 5th in Sedona, Arizona. If you're feeling stressed, anxious, depleted, and disconnected from your inner light and power, this is a fabulous opportunity to flip the switch on that narrative. The Rest and Renewal Retreat is your opportunity to prioritize your well-being and get your new year started off on the right foot. Stay tuned for a special offer later on in the episode. Thanks to Sana Skin Studio for supporting the No podcast. Sana is a skin studio that is shifting the relationship with your skin and your products through goal-driven facials, real guidance, and clean skincare. Stay tuned for our promo code so you can receive $25 off of your first facial at Sana Skin Studio. Welcome to the No podcast with me, Nikki Spo. Welcome back to another jam-packed episode of The No with me, Nikki Spo. You guys, I am living that new mom life of 3, and it is mostly sweet, but I'm not going to lie, it's also bitter. Hello, sleepless nights. And you know, at times it's not just bitter or sweet, it's just bittersweet. So who better to host today than my girl, Linda Fruits, who you know on IG as @Fruits of Motherhood. Linda Fruits is just your average, relatable mom with a sense of humor and a big A heart. Her goal has always been to make new and even seasoned moms feel better about themselves through the hardest parts of motherhood. Sounds like my BFF right now. Linda's vibe is unapologetic AF. After having her kiddos and realizing her true sexual identity via, yes, TikTok, Linda had that uncomfortable and insanely courageous conversation with her partner and left her heterosexual marriage. Linda's social media account and her new book, The Mom Life, The Sweet, the Bitter, and the Bittersweet Fruits of Motherhood, both bring forth a refreshing combination of hilarity and empathy, which is her signature. Linda emphasizes that you are not a bad mother for fondly remembering a time in your life before children, and that sometimes it's okay to feed your toddler chicken nuggets 3 days in a row. The Mom Life creates a safe space and a vital contrast to the deluge of information and the picture-perfect parenthood accounts that are popping up all across social media. Linda Fruits is full of powerful and empowering advice for women everywhere. I can't wait for you all to hear from her today. Let's dive right in. Linda Fruits, what is up, little mama? I am so excited to have you on The No. You are amazing. I love following you, and I'm not going to lie, I'm having like a super fangirl moment over here.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So thank you for taking time to be on the show, and huge, Julia Roberts, huge congrats to you on your new book, The Mom Life, The Sweet, the Bitter, and the Bittersweet Fruits of Motherhood. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've worked my ass off on this whole thing, and I kept it a secret for like a whole year, which if you know me, I'm terrible at keeping secrets. Like I get very excited and it just comes out.
Yeah, I love this. You're like, I get so excited and you're like are you an oversharer?
Oh yeah. I mean, look at me. This is isn't it obvious?
I go to a dinner party, right? And I'm like, there's like a joke, like I'm an Aries, and there's a joke that like an Aries will tell you their whole life story, and you're like, just wanted to see how you, like, superficially how you're doing.
Yeah, like when they say how you're doing, they don't mean like actually how you're doing. It's just
right.
like thanks
but
for
you know
asking.
what, Linda? I'm like the type of person that I'm here to have those conversations anyway, so whatever.
Me too. I prefer deep conversations. Like I want to know what's really bugging you versus like you just telling me, oh, you're okay. You know, like
right.
That's very like
totally.
Kind of boring, right? Like I really want to know.
Yeah, totally. Right on. So I have a question. Is your real name Linda Fruits?
100%. You know, I get asked that a lot, and I have to say, I'm not sure like if I could pick any last name, I'd be like, oh, Fruits, you know, but I was born, raised with it. Like I was always that kind of person who had a first last name, you know, or people address me by my full name, like, hey, Linda Fruits, you know, all the time.
Yeah. I get it because my maiden name is Sap, and it's not as interesting as Fruits, but like I was always Nikki Sap. Like it was one word, Nikki Sap.
Exactly. So you totally get it. And also when I got married, I tried to convince my ex to take my last name because I'm like, it's so cool. It's so cool.
I can't.
I mean, it's the cooler last name. I think
it's a cool last name. Yeah, it's a cool last name.
And then he said no, but I
No. Uh-uh.
obviously kept my last name, and I added it to my kids. It kind of was always like an icebreaker growing up. It was really great. People remembered me. You know, when you meet someone, you're like, "Hi, I'm so and so." You just like literally don't remember their name. Like Fruits is like, "Oh, you actually like retain it," and I was like,
It's
"That's."
like
I'm like,
not common. Like
"Yeah."
it's not common.
It was supposed to be Fritz. I'm like German and European and all that. Like I'm a mutt. And then when we came over from Ellis Island like a million years ago, they changed it to Fruits, and I'm really thankful.
So the no, like the show, the no is not about like knowing everything, right? Like some people call it in the know. And like, because I love to talk about makeup and beauty hacks and mom hacks and whatever, like all the stuff that I know about life and whatever. But the show is actually not about like being in the know of the things. It's really about knowing yourself. And it seems like you, from what I understand, like didn't know yourself for a very long time. Like you were stuck in this place of like not knowing yourself. And then you navigated through that in your previous marriage after you had kids. And can you share about that time?
So recently I came out as lesbian, and it sounds like that's just so easy to say, like a 10-second spiel and your whole life changes, right? But I have been working up to this, I guess, my entire life. And as you know, as a mom, your free time is very limited. So you get to really pick and choose what you want to do during your free time. And, those 20 minutes a day. And I realized that like being intimate with my ex was just not one of them. That was just like not something I could bring myself to do anymore. And I kept questioning like why. And then
But you guys
I,
have two kids together,
yes, we have two kids.
right?
So,
You were
no,
intimate.
right, right. But they were very planned. I knew when I
Mhm.
was ovulating, I knew I wanted kids. So I was like, okay, I have to do the thing to have the kids. And
The
so,
perfunctory act of like
right,
making a baby.
right. And so even my ex, we're very open, obviously, and he would tell me, he's like, I just feel like you're just using me to like have a baby, but like I adore him. He's a wonderful human being. Like I didn't just use him to have a baby. He's a great friend of mine, obviously, and I was like, yeah and no, like I know I'm ovulating, so it's like, anyways, and so that's always been like a real struggle. I've heard some therapists, some TikTok therapists say that like sex can be like a precursor. That's the first thing that goes when something's like wrong in your marriage. Like there's a bigger picture. And I think that can be true for like a lot of relationships. But for me, obviously it was something else, right? It's just that I was not interested in men. And I think about all the relationships I had ever been in, they all ended the same way. And so I just kept trying different men.
Which was which way? Like you not being
That I
interested in
just
them?
no longer, I didn't want to be
You're like,
touched, kissed, like literally like the intimacy, like the romantic part, it was really missing and it was forced. Because I was always really pursued by men, and that sounds like whatever, but I worked in nightclubs and I was pursued by men a lot. And so even at a young age, so that's how I picked my boyfriends. Like whoever liked me, I was like, okay, they're cool. I like them back, I think, and I grew up in kind of a smaller area in Florida, and I just wasn't really exposed a lot. I didn't really know, like looking back, there's obviously a bunch of like flags I definitely missed. But motherhood, I think definitely was like the catalyst. I was just like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I want to be happy. I want to feel something deep. I want to not shy away from intimacy. Like I don't want to feel this guilt. Like I felt a lot of guilt for not being intimate with my husband.
or wanting to be intimate, right?
Yeah. And like, he never placed that pressure on me, but I did myself. I'm like, we've been together for a long time, and we'd go through very, very long droughts. And I tried so many different ways to like make it happen, and it just was not working.
I think also like it was a different time. I feel like we're around the same age maybe, but
Yeah.
like kids now, like young people now are also a lot more open-minded. Like there's just a lot more acceptance and self-expression, and the idea of self-identity is and sexual identity is so much more at the forefront that you have. I mean, there's things I don't even understand. I'm like, I can't keep track of like
Yeah. All the
all the sexualities. I really can't,
yeah.
like but on some level, it's like the generation of today is just a lot more accepting. I would imagine that like growing up in our time as a gay person, if you're not sure that you're gay or if you can't really pinpoint it, it's not like you even have access to experiences that are going to reveal that to you because people are
Exactly.
so closed off, right? Whereas
Right.
like there's a lot more fluidity in today's world.
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, like like you like girls didn't hit on each other.
Yeah, yeah, you were just best friends, right?
Right.
Had
Right.
very close platonic best friends. I look back and I'm
Yes.
like, okay, that was a platonic, like for me, it was the energy, that I guess I was missing.
Well, how did you start to do this work where you're like, okay, this is actually what it is?
I kept blaming everything on being a mom, that I was like touched out, that I was tired, all the things, and I would make jokes about it on the internet and everyone's like, yeah, me too. And I'm like,
Like,
okay,
don't
cool.
fucking
It's not
touch
just
me.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, great. So there's not something wrong with me. Everyone's dealing with this. And so that kept getting swept under the rug. And, my kids started sleeping. We ended up putting them up in daycare. I started doing my own things, and I was like, okay, it's still not there. I'm still not interested. I'm still, and again, the exposure and the representation. So I downloaded TikTok. I have an old article written about this because it's a thing that's happening now for like our generation because we didn't have those examples. And I found myself attracted to someone I had never met before, which for me, my entire life, I would only sleep with people that I was like friends with for like a long time. It would take me forever to like be intimate with like my boyfriend or whatever.
Right.
Um,
Which in hindsight, like you talk about like the red flags you see in hindsight, you're like,
yeah,
okay, well, like that
yeah,
attraction wasn't there. Like there wasn't like
right.
an instinctual attraction.
Exactly. It was kind of still forced. And so I was like making jokes with my friends. I'm like, is she hot? Is it just me? Is it like a everyone can agree, or do I need to like figure this out? And it just kept like growing because TikTok will show you content that you watch, whether or not you engage with it or not. And before I knew it, I'm on what they call like lesbian TikTok. Like I identified as like a demisexual, right? Which is the whole thing where you like take forever to sleep with someone, or it takes a lot to get to know them before you like them. And then again, the crush, the instant crush. And I was like, okay. So I have to figure that out. And at first, I thought I was bisexual, and I told my husband, and that was just, oh, and I was getting like really anxious about this concept, like I felt it in my body. I started therapy because I couldn't figure out like what felt so unsettled. And when I
Well,
told
it's
him
like
I
a
was like,
secret that you're keeping, right?
yeah,
Like,
and I felt like I was hiding it
yeah.
from him, and I was like, okay, that means like we need to talk about it. And once I told him I was bisexual, I felt a huge relief, but I could feel like in my heart that it wasn't done. And that's really when I started like digging into like every relationship, every romantic partner, every instance I have ever been through. And I had to like tell him, I think I'm a lesbian. If I never like had to sleep with another man ever again, I'd be happy about that because I have been like forcing myself my whole life.
Linda, I've actually read that article that you wrote for parents.com that you're like talking about. You basically tell this story. Um, and it seems like your husband had a really like positive reaction. Like, I mean, in what a person might assume would happen, like somebody might get angry or upset or feel betrayed or whatever. Like, I don't know, I got the sense that he was really accepting and loving towards you. Is that the case? Did you feel like that was real?
Absolutely. Yeah, we started off as friends, just like all the stories just told. And obviously something was off. And I think he put a lot of blame on himself. I know I did. I thought that he couldn't give me what I wanted. And I would try to tell him, it was like this thing that we couldn't figure out. And I think once we did figure it out, maybe he felt a little relief. Obviously there was a lot of pain involved in the beginning, especially like he did feel like guilty that maybe he really couldn't give me what I wanted or that it was his fault. But, these are just like common emotions, like kind of,
The ebbs and
um,
flow of things.
yeah, grieving our relationship that is ending, but we did it together, and we're starting a new relationship. But overall, just extremely like we did it together. So I know a lot of people who go through similar situations usually find out that their other person was like cheating on them. And that's how they find out that they're gay. Or, that's like a common theme. Um, and so, of course, there's a lot of betrayal there. But in our case, it was during the pandemic. I'm not going out, and not that I would have cheated, but I'm just saying it's like we really went through it together. I told him, we spoke about it, just we had never talked so much as we did in this transition. It was kind of like this whole open of the floodgates of emotions and thoughts.
I mean, from the outside, it sounds really beautiful. Like to be able to have somebody hold space for you and be able to hold space for somebody in that way.
Yeah, it was
Even if
something.
it's painful,
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think a lot of beautiful things, kind of stem from pain, and like what we have now is almost like unshakable. Like if we can go through this and still live together, it really says that we are friends.
And like on some level, soulmates, right? Like not your soulmate, but like a soulmate, like a mate of the soul, like somebody that you connect with on a soul spiritual level who accepts you for who you are and all the versions of you that you were, are, and are going to be.
And a lot of people, like my friends, are like, he's not normal. Like that's not like a normal reaction. But I started doing a lot of consulting for moms who want to talk about them coming out and they're married and later in life. And so I do like these Zoom calls with them and I just talk to them. And you know what? A lot of these men are like him. The responses are usually like 99% positive. And if it's not immediate, it's eventually. I tell them always, I'm like, the time is going to pass anyways. So you might as well work towards something that you need, you know? And it's so funny that when I was questioning like my marriage and everything, it all stemmed from a place. I'm like, maybe I need to have an open marriage because like I can't have sex with my husband, And it was for him. It's all I kept thinking about. I was like, I just want him to get the love he deserves.
Wow.
That's how it started. I was like, no man should go like, unless if they genuinely don't want to, right? But like he definitely wants to have that, And so that was actually one of the very beginnings of like unpacking, all of this.
Where you're thinking like, I want you to be able to go get what you need if it's not
Right.
from me.
Yeah. And because I just can't. Like we tried to do this thing where we'd have like I thought my love language was like quality time, And so we'd spend like all day together and it was like the nighttime, right? So it's time for us to like have our romance. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I just can't do it. Like all the quality time that we were spending, it wasn't equaling up to like what I needed. And it's not his fault at all. It's just, there was something else.
I don't know how all of you feel during this holiday season, but it can get so hectic that it's easy to lose oneself in the process. Then after the holidays are over, you end up feeling depleted as you begin a new year. Truth seekers, let's not set this as our vibe for 2023. So how can we stay true to ourselves? Let's prioritize our well-being. Journeys with Josephine has an amazing opportunity for you to hit the pause button so you can reclaim your peace and reignite your inner light. Join Josephine, a certified life and mindfulness coach and author of 2 fabulous mindfulness books, on her Rest and Renewal retreat in Sedona, Arizona from March 3rd to 5th at the Poco Diablo Resort. Josephine is offering $100 off of the retreat, plus a free one-on-one mindful life coaching session after the retreat, valued at $180. $80 back in your pocket, people. For more info and to reserve your spot, go to www.seekdharma.com/journeys with Josephine and enter the code INSIDER100. Only 10 spots remaining for this exclusive retreat, so snag your spot ASAP and you'll be on your way to restoration, empowerment, and serenity. I want to take a minute to thank our sponsors, Sana Skin Studio. The best way for me to describe Sana is that it feels like coming home. Unlike traditional facials, Sana's facials are rooted in education, and I love this so much. Every experience I've had at Sana has been a chance to learn more about my skin and its needs. I love that the facials are effective while also being accessible enough to be a monthly ritual rather than a yearly splurge. I'm honored to be able to provide our audience with a promo code. Use the code THENOGLOW for $25 off of your first facial at Sana when booking via sanaskinstudio.com. Outside of your own personal self-discovery and your realization, which I mean takes a lot of courage and a lot of really honest self-reflection, right? Did you always feel frustrated by the perfect mommy culture? Was this happening before? Did you ever find yourself trying to fit into it?
Definitely. When I first had a child, I was like, what the hell? Why is this so hard? Why is nobody telling me? I literally was holding a 3-month-old and I'm like, did I just ruin my life? I don't understand.
I ruined my life. I'm like, I didn't ruin your life. I ruined my life.
Yeah. I'm like, what the hell? And I kept telling myself, I'm like, okay, people willingly have more than one child, so it's got to get better. Right. But it was the expectations that I put on myself that I was struggling with. I thought that if my child cried, I was a bad mom, these things that you just think that you accumulate in movies and books and, whatever of what a mom is. And yeah, it wasn't me.
It's so hard, I remember thinking I didn't know what I was doing. I had never wanted kids. And I found out I was pregnant the first time and I was like, no, 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 no. No. And here I am, number 3. And it's I love being a mom. It's just such a backwards thing to me that I'm like, oh, okay, cool. If I make my own rules for this, I can enjoy the game a lot better. I can enjoy what I'm doing a lot better if I am able to create motherhood on my terms and what that looks like for me. And a very small example is this time I'm not breastfeeding. I don't care. I'm not breastfeeding because it's not good for my mental health. It's just not good for my mental health. And you know what my other 2 kids need? And my baby, they need mom to be mentally right, as right as possible and happy so that I can share in the positive experiences. But, and I think that the world is getting more open to it, right? To moms and parents making their own decisions and their own rules. But it's really daunting, especially as a first-time mom, when you're having to scramble and think about all of the things you don't necessarily know the answers. I tried so hard to breastfeed with my first 2, and I didn't know that I could just not, right? I could just be like, no, not for me. Oh, take your opinion and take it over there. I don't really care. You don't know what you don't know. It's interesting. For me personally, as time has gone on, I've been able to be a lot more okay with this people not accepting my method of motherhood. I love to sleep train. Some people don't like that. That's okay. I'm like, you do you. I'll do me over here. It's all good.
In order to be a somewhat stable mom during the day, I need sleep. I need a break. I need all these things, and yeah, I have to work for that because otherwise my kids get this really shitty version of me.
And then you don't feel good as a person anyway. You're like, I really sucked as a mom. If you had mom guilt before, now you really do. So at what point, Linda, were you okay, I am not subscribing to this perfect mommy culture and I'm not going to go down quietly about it. How did you start? Because you have obviously this huge platform now where this is what you are known for. You have a book, right? So at what point were you okay, we're going to have these conversations. I'm going to make it a public thing and I'm not going to go down quietly about this.
So it was literally when he was 3 months old in my arms and I'm like, shit, I can't be the only one who feels like this. And so I actually started my account anonymously. And I just started writing and some people would message me is this you? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, that's so cool. Cause I didn't know how it was going to be perceived.
Was it Fruits of Motherhood at first?
At first it was actually Mom Gang. And then I found out that was trademarked. So I started Fruits of Motherhood because of my last name. I always try to weave it perfect. Yeah. And, so I was testing the waters, I guess, just kind of finding my own voice, talking about the stuff that meant a lot to me that I was struggling with. That's literally my every single day. I was like, okay, what am I struggling with today? And I wrote about it.
And it was organic. It's like people just, okay. So like, it's interesting to me because this is like a big part of my personal brand is like the sense of community, right? Like, I think we're all looking for community. We're all looking like, and if your initial handle was mom gang, it's like, this is your crew. Like, you're safe here. Like, this is where you belong, right? Even in the midst of like not knowing or having different opinions. And like, if anything, you can come here with your different opinions and know that you're safe here, even if you see things differently. It's really hard to be a new mom. And I think more so, I always wonder about like postpartum depression. I know I had postpartum anxiety. I was diagnosed with postpartum anxiety with my firstborn. And I always wonder, like, is this because, I mean, it's a legitimate thing. Like, fully wholeheartedly believe that it's a legitimate postpartum anxiety and depression are legit.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
also wonder, like, how much of it is like just the factor that it's like this abrupt life change that we were not like equipped or ready for.
Right. I think about that all the time. I actually
Normal.
also, yeah, had postpartum anxiety. It was undiagnosed because I'm very like A type. And I think everyone around me just was like, okay, Linda's like just doing her thing. But it was like bad. I like
Yeah.
everything was like life or death. Like he was
Yes.
10
Oh my
minutes
gosh.
late for a nap. Everything was
Yes.
going, I was
Same. Oh
going
my
to
gosh.
die.
Same.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. And we would get into fights, you know, he would want his mom to watch the child. I'm like, he's going to die. You know, like that was like the ultimate feeling, you know, that I had. Like, no one can watch him. He's going to die. Tell me I didn't have postpartum anxiety. But like and a lot of it I do feel stemmed from thinking I had to do everything perfect all the time. I didn't understand that like I was going to make mistakes and it was okay to make mistakes.
You know, Linda, I actually had like a night nurse who like stimulated that in me. Like, she was like it was like such a toxic thing. And something I want moms to also know is that like, be intentional about who you allow in your space when you are a new mom, because it's like, I had this night nurse who was so intense. Like, she was such a drill sergeant. She would like watch me on the cameras and be like, you did this wrong and you did this wrong and you did this
Oh
wrong.
my
And I'm like,
god.
am I imagining this? I was like, it was really, really hard for me. And I thought like I needed her. Like, my husband traveled for work. So I'm like, I need her. Like, she's God. Like, she was God to me. So like, in hindsight, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so bad for me. And I wish more people knew like they can trust their instincts, like, and advocate for themselves. Like, you can say to somebody, you need to get the F out of my house now. Right? Whether that's family, a friend, a hired person who works with you and your family, you can be like, this doesn't feel right to me, and you got to go.
Honestly, I think motherhood is one of the first times I learned how to say no. You know, like truly. Like, no, I'm not going to that party at nap time. No. Because like I know what that does to me if I say yes. And my child, you know, like we don't do well if that's the case.
Right.
And you know, and it's like I look forward to nap time like it's nobody's business, you know, like
I understand.
you know, and I don't want to fuck with that. Like that's like my 2 hours if I'm lucky a day where I get to do whatever I want and sometimes that's just nap and like yeah, I want that. I want to lay in my bed and be a vegetable and scroll through my phone for 2 hours because that's what I want to do.
So, like, now in the online world of work, where like you work online, right? And you can work remote, right? So can I. I actually had to like schedule. So I have like a Calendly link where people can like book their call with me or whatever, recording or whatever we're doing. And I literally had to block off 2 hours on my calendar. I'm like, rest. This is rest. Rest. In my calendar, every day it says rest. Because if I don't schedule rest, I also schedule play. Like, I'm like, this is your personal time to play. Like, go out. Like, I don't care what you do, but this is how you're gonna play today, Nikki. But I have to schedule it, or else somebody will like, I'll leave the calendar open to the ether, and like there'll be an appointment booked during my play or my rest time, and I'm like, oh hell no.
That's one thing I always advocate for moms is like you have to do for yourself, whatever that means. You know,
Yeah,
rest and play, like that's yours, like that's everyone's right. But like what that means for them is going to be different,
it's
and like
different.
you
Sure.
have to do it. It doesn't benefit your family to not do it.
So okay, so I'm fascinated by your like radical acceptance of yourself, and people like you inspire me truly, like to no end. I like Linda, I have lost myself at various points in my life. Like I've tried to fit into the box of like what the wife and the mom and the this and the that should be. And I was a professional dancer. This is what a professional dancer should do. And I was an artist and this is what an artist should do. And like, this is what I have to look like. Right. And this is what I have to be. And I've lost myself in a lot of those moments. And I've strived to look within and honor who I am, like the flaws and all, while continuing to grow, like especially in motherhood, because like the little ones, the small ones, they're really paying attention to us. Like they are watching like how we keep ourselves small. They're watching how free we are. They're watching how we advocate for ourselves. So I want to know, like, I'm not sure how old your children are, but I also want to know like how has coming out impacted your kids?
So I guess when this happened was almost a year ago. So they were like 1 and 3. Now they're
Okay.
2 and 4.
All right. My
So
kids
the
are 2 and 4.
okay, perfect. So then
Yeah.
like the older one, I was like, okay, do you want to talk about why mommy and daddy no longer sleep in the same bed? Because he moved into the other side of the house. He's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to tell you a little something then, just like we love you very much. I spoke to like a maternal therapist, and she's like, you just give them the words so they don't come up with their own, and it was that we both love him very much, and that we decided that we no longer were going to be um I forget how we worded it, like age appropriate, right? Like a romantic couple. We're gonna be your mommy and daddy as best friends from now on, and at that time he was like, okay, cool. And then the little one, at this point he knows no different. My girlfriend lives with us now as well. So they see this dynamic. We've been together for 10 months today. I picture, what this will look like later, and kids will like ask, oh, you have a mommy and a daddy who all live with you. And so I did the same thing, the same treatment. And I sat him down one day and I was like, you know what? I was like, you're so lucky to have so many people who love you under one roof. It's more love, more fun because she plays with them like I don't play with them. you know, in her own special way, and which I don't. And I'm like, don't you love it when she does that and she plays with you guys? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, then we're lucky to have her. We're lucky to have her here. She makes us all better. She's like best friends, obviously, with my ex as well. We have this like. I feel so thankful and so lucky. It feels unreal most of the time, but so I try to reiterate that to my kids. And like you said, I have younger sisters who are like much younger. And they do have it like all figured out when it comes to like sexuality and acceptance to everyone. Like it's definitely that generational cycle is broken. Um, and they can change all the time. Like I remember, one saying she was something and then it changed to something else. And it's like, no big deal.
Like you don't have to be something forever. Like that's something that I really have had to come to terms with for my life. Like for me, I felt that in my professional world. Like I mentioned to you, like I was a professional dancer and then I was studying art and then I was studying fashion. And I felt like such a loser at one point because I was like, oh man, who's ever going to take me seriously because I don't stick with any one thing. And I'm like, hold on. I reserve the right to change my mind about my life.
Yeah. I'm the same way, by the way. I have changed so many times in more ways than one.
But like the generation that's younger than us, they're like, yeah, I've changed my mind. Like, I'm totally cool with that. Like, there's no, so what? So what? Whereas like, right, like our parents' generation and our grandparents' generation, if you did something, you did it forever. And that's who you were. That is who you were. And there was no changing that.
Including marriage,
Right.
including a job,
Exactly.
including friends. Like they never said, no, this isn't for me. I'm going to try something different.
And so there's a lot more of that now.
Yeah. thankfully.
And it's beautiful. So when did you start writing the book? Because I know you were keeping it, you mentioned that you kept it a
Yeah.
secret for a while, but like what motivated you to finally say, like, this is something I have to do? Like, this is a soul calling. I have to do this.
I don't know if you've ever heard of like lucky girl syndrome. Like, I swear I have it. It's just like where you keep thinking wonderful things come to you. Okay,
Yeah.
I saw this thing about it and I'm like, okay, I have like lucky girl syndrome. I'm always
Like,
like, what will come find me is exactly what I need. And so I always wanted to write a book. I just had no idea how to get started. It's kind of like a very complicated process, especially if like you start from scratch, you know? And so I was like, okay, I want it. And I just would think about it all the time. And my agent found me. And she's like, let's have a call. I'm like, hell yeah. We had a call. I
yeah,
loved her. I was like, you know, and I told her the same thing. I was like, I feel like things find me when I'm ready, and you're awesome. So let's do this.
that's amazing.
And so, yeah, I started like, honestly, it's been like one whole year. And so this transition, actually even longer, because this happened right as I was writing, me coming out and everything. And I remember like approaching my publisher, you know, like, and talking to her about it. I'm like, I don't want this to invalidate like everything I've ever written, you know? And she's like, no, it doesn't at all. You know, like
If
you,
anything, it like enhances.
yeah.
And from
And
the
because I,
outside, like, I don't know enough, but like, I think from the outside it does. Like you're advocating for people to be their most authentic, like real, self-accepting version of a mother.
yeah,
And who better to say that than somebody who says, you know what, I don't want to be in a heterosexual relationship anymore. This is actually who I really am.
thank you. Yeah. It was more of that fear of like, not knowing how everyone was going to perceive me. Like I remember the day I was posting like kind of more sexy TikToks, you know, and someone was like, "What's going on?" Right? Because I had really tapped into something that I had never felt before.
Yeah, wow.
And I was like, "Okay, Christopher, people are starting to ask." I'm like, "Do you feel comfortable enough to like share this with the masses?" You know? And he's like, "Yeah." You know, we were on like level ground, solid ground, and I wrote a blog post, and within 20 seconds after sharing it, which that's not really how it doesn't stuff doesn't blow up that quick anymore, like on social media. Within like 20 seconds of me posting this thing, I had more positive responses. Like there was no negative. Of course, I had people who like unfollowed me, but the overwhelming positive response was not only something I didn't expect, but so reassuring in that moment, you know, and what that meant for their kids as well. It's like the bigger picture, the acceptance, like for their kids and their friends. And like, you know, it's just like so beautiful to me. And I was like, oh, wow. Like our kids are so lucky.
And just having that support, it must have felt so good
Oh,
because
it
it's such a
definitely,
scary
because
thing.
I have like had two people in my family that were not as open
Which
and
is really hard.
understanding, right? And so that helped me, you know, because if I had, we kind of told social media and then told like more people like intimately, like our family, you know, because,
Mhm.
and had I done it differently, I might have been too scared to share it, you
Yeah,
know?
right, because maybe you would have gotten some negative feedback from people who are really close to you and, like, their influence is heavy on your life,
Right. Yeah.
right, but then you have this unwavering support from, which is, it's such a wild thing. I talk about this with my husband a lot, you know, like, him being a public figure and, like, him, like, obviously so he's in sports and, like, everybody loves sports and he has so much support, but he also has a ton of haters out there, you know, who, like, whatever. And like even in my own sphere where I'm very open about healing and trauma and my own personal experiences growing up, and it's just like all these strangers who do like support you. It's an energy exchange. Like it's not just about caring about what strangers think, right? Like we
Right.
don't
Right.
really care what
There's
strangers
a
think.
difference. Yeah.
There's a difference, but there is something beautiful when you can say something about who you are as a human being and have it resonate so deeply with somebody else that they're like, I don't know you, but I'm cheering for you on. Like I am cheering you on in your journey, in your
Yeah. The
space. It
messages,
sounds like that's
I
what
got
you had.
like so many private messages and people going through the same thing that I've motivated them to like do the scariest thing in their life. And I'm like, I promise you, like, I know it seems impossible, right? Like, but it is so worth it. It's not impossible. It looks like it was super easy and I did this in like 10 seconds, but it's a journey. The time is going to pass anyways. I'm like, it's worth it, and like that helps me. It helps me. It's a two-way street. Like their positive reassurance that what I'm posting is like um relatable, like then I don't feel alone that I like, don't want to pick up my kids early from daycare, whatever the joke is for the day.
So what would you say is one of the best pieces of advice that you've ever received? Because I know that like you give a lot of advice, right? Like in your own way, right? Like you say it's okay to be yourself. Like that's the message. It's like you can be yourself. What advice have you gotten that has really either changed the trajectory or just like really sat with you for forever?
Yeah, I definitely have it. It's my therapist at the time. She asked me one simple question, and I apply it all the time. um, she asked me, "Why do I feel responsible for something?" And in this case, it was someone else. Why do I feel responsible for her? It's the person who like no longer accepts me for like who I am. Um, and this was before I had even like come out. It was in part of the climb of that mountain. And I was like, you know what? I don't know why I feel responsible. And at the end of the day, I'm not responsible for anyone else, how they feel, what they think. I'm just not responsible. And it was like this huge weight off my shoulders. Like, I'm not responsible.
And so what would you say then to other people, like other women in your old shoes? Like I always think to myself, Linda, that like I am my target demo, right? Like my podcast is for like the version of me that really needed
Yes,
this podcast like 2
yes,
years ago, right? And
literally.
like right, like you are your target demo. Like so what are you saying to like other women who are in the throes of what you went through and they're on the fence of like what to do and how to talk about it and like whether they should stay or go or keep this suppressed within them.
Yeah. Well, and I say the same thing to all of the moms I talk to is that you're not doing yourself a favor by staying if you feel like you don't belong here, and then you're not doing them a favor by staying when you don't feel like you belong here. You're not doing your kids a favor by setting that example of staying where you don't feel like you belong. And truthfully, like maybe they don't know when it comes to like sexuality, if they're interested in women or if they're bisexual. But the fact of the matter is that where they are at that very given moment is not it. That's just not it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be feeling like this. And of course, these moms don't come to me within like the first, they've been wondering themselves for a long time. So it's not like, um, what do you say, like impulsive, right? It's not,
Right.
it's something that you obviously have been battling with. And so, and then I remind them that whatever it is, like, it is worth it. And truthfully, if they can't accept you, like your ex, or then it's just not where you were meant to be. You need that freedom
Yeah.
to accept yourself.
You know, Linda, I like it reminds me of a lot of like my sobriety journey. It's like I was asking everybody else, do you think I'm an alcoholic? Do you think I'm an alcoholic? Do you think I'm an alcoholic? I knew I was an alcoholic. Like I knew. I knew, like, I needed other people to, like, tell me, and for so long, so many people were like, "No, you're a mom, you deserve a glass of wine. No, you just drink a little too much on occasion." Remember? Like, there were so many, like, different, "No, you're not. Oh, maybe you are. No, you're not." I knew. I knew. Like, I knew, right? And so, I think what you're saying is, like, by the time people get to you, like, they already know the answer, and they might be, like, looking for and permission to speak up and to be honest with themselves. And it's not necessarily permission to be a lesbian. No, but permission to be real with yourself.
And also that I'm like living proof of like the after effect, because
How good life can get.
and also, like not a lot of people go through this, so you're kind of limited on people who will talk about it. And so, and that's what I wanted. I wanted someone to talk to, just to literally tell me everything I tell them, that it is worth it. you deserve love, they deserve love. Like, the hardest part is saying it. It's just saying the one sentence to them, and then it's like it's really only like moderately up from there, you know?
Well, I've loved chatting with you. I hope everybody goes out and gets your book,
Thank
The
you so
Mom
much.
Life, The Sweet, the Bitter, and the Bittersweet Fruits of Motherhood.
Yes, you can find it on my website, fruitsofmotherhood.com, or on Instagram, and all the good stuff. It's everywhere.
I mean, we're going to tell you your handle, but everybody's already following you. It's at Fruits of Motherhood, but we are all already following Linda Fruits because we love her so much. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Linda, it was a pleasure to host you on the show. I can't wait to meet you in person because
I know we get to hang out. Let's do that.
And you're in South Florida. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. You're a wonderful host. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
As we head full speed ahead into the holidays, don't forget to put yourself on the gift list too. Book a spot at the Rest and Renewal Retreat March 3rd through 5th in Sedona with certified life and mindfulness coach and author Josephine Atlery. Remember, by taking care of yourself first, you end up taking better care of those around you. Give yourself the permission to access the rest and renewal you deserve by using the code INSIDER100 for $280 in savings at seekdharma.com/journeys with Josephine. This podcast was brought to you by Sana Skin Studio. Be sure to use my code, TheNoGlow, for $25 off of your first facial at Sana when booking via sanaskinstudio.com. More than a skin studio, Sana is a movement towards healthier skin and self-love. Thank you so much for listening to The Know. If you loved this episode, go ahead and share it with a friend. Words are so powerful, and someone may need to hear what we covered today. And if you really loved this episode, please take a moment to rate the show and leave a review. Your comments are so important and valued, and they give other listeners insight on what to expect on The Know. You can connect with me personally via Instagram at Nikki Sap Spo and The Know with Nikki Spo. My hope for you today is that you are fearless in looking inward so that you can be your highest, most authentic self and go after the life of your dreams.